Howdy, RINO season's upon us. Next week, on the 15th of January, it starts in Iowa. So the folks up there in Iowa, good luck. Here in Texas, our RINO season is February 20th to March 5th. I'm using the term RINO, R-I-N-O, representative in name only. It just so happens that my representative is in fact a career establishment Republican. He's halfway through his 11th term, been in Washington, D.C. for 21 years. So I'm going to take away career politicians' excuses for the period that my guy's been in office, since 2003. Now, if you have an incumbent that's relatively new, you're going to still have to go with, I guess, your first impressions, whatever matrix you use to determine whether a person's worth a crap or not. All right? So, since my guy's been there in the past 20 years, this is excuse busting. All right. The House has been controlled, the House of Representatives has been controlled by the Republicans 13 of those 21 years. So, the Dems, you've had it for 8. There's been one party rule. That is, one party controls the House, the Senate, and the White House. Republicans have had one party rule. This is in the past 20 years for 6 years. Democrats only 4. So establishment Republicans, you've had it quite a bit more than the other side. There's been 5 Republican speakers of the House to only 1 Democrat Speaker of the House. So when I hear establishment Republicans talk about their leadership and experience, 5 Speakers of the House in a 20-year period, that's a leadership issue, folks. They change Speakers of the House more than some folks change socks. Okay, let's talk about presidents, 2 a pop. In the 20 years that my guy's been there, there's been 2 Republican presidents, 2 Democrat presidents. That's what we call a push. All right. So that's the tale of getting rid of their excuses about, well, them other people wouldn't let us do it. Them other people had the Senate. Them other people had the White House. We couldn't get it done. I'm going to call BS on that one. That's bull crap. We'll keep it as clean as we can here. All right. So let's do performance evaluation. That's what this is, folks, particularly in the primary season. In the primary season, if you've got a schmuck that's representing you in Washington, you start getting rid of them in the primary season, the RINO season, as I like to call it. Get rid of the representatives in name only. Okay. So let's talk about performance evaluation. They are at-will employees. For the House of Representatives, we can fire or retain those people every 2 years. The Senate's a different issue. They get 6 years. They get a 6-year contract. Your reps only get 2. And I tell you what, there's a lot of reps quitting early. That's bullshit. Somebody signs on for 2 years, they damn sure better serve you at least those 2 years. And then if you want to throw them out, throw them out. Well, we're in the throw out period. So it's like I said, RINO season. So let's talk about performance. I'm going to bust one more myth when I talk about a performance evaluation. I don't know how many have been in, supervisory roles or management roles where you do performance evaluations and determine whether or not to retain an employee. I have. Whether you're going to keep somebody because they're doing you a good job or not. But establishment politicians, let's talk about this one. And they like to talk about 80-20. Hey, we just negotiated the deal and we got 80% of what we wanted. Okay, that tells me for everything the other side got, you should be able to rattle off 4 things that you got that I would be happy with. Can we say open borders? All right, I'm going to go through what I consider you guys. Now this is my evaluation matrix. You guys make up your own. You can use this as a model or say, hey, I got better ideas. But here's the way I did it. I looked at my person's 20 years in office. And let's see. We whacked Saddam Hussein. Bush claimed that. And Obama claimed whacking Osama bin Laden. So that's going to be another push there. Let's see. We beat back ISIS. Actually, that was Trump did that. But what's going on in Iraq today? ISIS ain't done. They call themselves ISIS-K now. Yeah, they kind of took a hint from Fauci on that one. You know, all the variants of COVID and whatnot. So now we went from, what was it? Al-Qaeda to ISIS. We're up to ISIS-K. Get your boosters now. All right. Biden gave back Afghanistan. Gave it back to the Taliban. All right, we had temporary border security. Hopefully that was Trump again. He beat back ISIS. He secured the border. And it was another one of those temporary victories. Can we say open border? How's that working out, Republicans? If the Republican establishment guys tell you, hey, we got 80% of what we want. Okay, the Dems got open borders. What do we get? What are the four things we got? 80 to 1. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. All righty then. Where are we at? Temporary energy independence. Oh, there we go. That was Trump again. And it was, again, a temporary victory. You know, I remember the 70s and OPEC. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. OPEC, when it was formed back in the 70s, you know, the oil-producing nations kind of formed a coalition to do something about oil prices. And I grew up in Beaumont, down there in the Golden Triangle. They called it that because of the oil. Spindletop, look it up. When I was a kid, Texaco Port Arthur was the largest oil refinery in the world. When I moved to Georgetown, Texas in 1986, Texaco Port Arthur was a ghost town. My union brothers and sisters, Beaumont Port Arthur area is a big union area. My union brothers and sisters, can we say outsourcing? How about my auto union brothers and sisters, can we say outsourcing? How's that working out for you voting Democrat? Of course, the Republican, you know, the RINO establishment of the Uniparty, the RINO faction of the Uniparty had something to do with that. All righty then. Facilitated Dodds. You know, that was a problem SCOTUS created back with Roe v. Wade in the 70s. And that was another Trump victory, by the way, because he was able to put some actual justices on the Supreme Court that weren't activists and weren't playing God, didn't consider themselves God. They gave it back to the states. So it's up to we, the people, to help finish that issue. All right. Let's see, open borders. We talked about energy independence. Oh, don't worry about the energy independence. Biden's got a plan for that. He's dumped out the petroleum oil reserves. That's another thing that came about in the 70s, you know, as a result of the OPEC thing, the strategic petroleum oil reserves. It was for national emergencies, supposed to be able to get us along for a little while until we find other sources of oil or energy or whatnot. Biden sold that to the Chi-Coms. And he used a lot of that. He dumped a lot of that on the market right before the midterms in 2022 to get gas prices down to help him at the polls. The Republican red wave of 2022 that turned out to be a Republican ripple. How about that? How's that working out for you, establishment Republicans? Here's what the one thing establishment Republicans have going for them. The Democrat progressives are so freaking crazy that the alternatives to Republicans. Whoop-de-doo. Let's see. We counted Dodds as a victor, but fear not. The DOJ, government's weaponized. DOJ, FBI, IRS. I'm going to talk about the Patriot Act and FISA in another video. But weaponization of government, man, they're still arresting pro-life protesters. Don't dare speak up at a school board because they're, sexualizing your kids. Let's see. Suspend the debt ceiling. This is actually going to be a victory claimed by both. the Republicans and the Democrats worked together. This was done just a little while ago. This is what cost Kevin McCarthy his speakership. He promised not to do that back in January last year, a year ago. He promised not to do that. Let's break this thing apart and, pass the 12 different things like we used to do before the Omnibus Budget Act of '93. That's only been around 30 years, this omnibus budget crap. And Kevin said, yeah, we'll quit doing that, and he lied, so they kicked his ass out. Thank you for those brave patriots that did that. So the debt ceiling, they always blow through it anyway, because what they did this time, they put a sunroof in the debt ceiling so that you can open and close it so they don't have to go through this shit. It was a temporary suspension. Yeah, right. John, my guy's a RINO named John Carter. And I love this. This is his newsletter. I don't know if you're in District 31 in Central Texas. He usually sends this electronically, but he messed up and sent us a hard copy. He's bragging about bringing $73 million back to Central. That's our dollars, by the way, back to Central Texas. And this is the funny part. Now, this is just to tell you all you need to know about John Carter. Carter votes against the McCarthy-Biden debt ceiling. Carter votes against the McCarthy-Biden debt ceiling deal. You know what's funny about that? In January, John Carter voted for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker every damn time. So back in October, just a little while ago, John Carter voted to keep Kevin McCarthy every single time. And now he's throwing him under the bus. Just think about that for a little while. Okay, so far we're pretty much, I've been going down one-on-one, what you might consider a conservative victory versus a progressive victory. But it's certainly not that 80-20 thing. And most of the conservative victories are temporary. In fact, all of them. All right, but what lives on the progressive side? Obamacare is alive and well. Sexualizing our children, mutilating our children, are in overdrive. Now, wokeness, this is on Elon Musk and some others. He's not the only one, but he's the most prominent one because he bought Twitter, right? He cracked that crap about government sanctioned censorship and supported censorship. CRT, DEI, finally under attack. the president of Harvard getting canned for anti-Semitism, but hell, they threw Al Capone in jail for tax evasion. Didn't matter how many people he murdered. What mattered was he was off the streets. So you got to look through the silver linings where you can find them. But most of this stuff is going, the good things are going, whether they claim to be MAGA or America First, is principles. Make America Great Again, that's a principle. America First, that's a principle. Trump is the champion of that, granted, but it's a principle that lives on. Now then, let's talk about primary voting. This is Williamson County. I live in Williamson County, so this is our numbers here in Congressional District 31. Right now, that's Williamson County, Bell County, Coryell, Bosque, Hamilton, and Burnett County. So it covers 6 counties, about 750,000 people. All right. Primary voting numbers from the last 2 cycles. Last time in 2022, 17% of the eligible voters voted in the primary. Primary voting means something. That's less than 1 in 5. Well, son of a gun. In 2020, a presidential election year, 17%. Folks, turn out for the primaries. That's where it starts. You think that the NFL goes down and picks up day workers on the street corners before the season starts? They have a draft. Think of primary seasons as the draft. And you want to put a Super Bowl winning team on the field. Vote in the primaries. In District 31 here in Central Texas, look for Mike Williams on that ballot, Republican primary. you'll find me there.